is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jakob Glesnes, is going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And wow, I still can't believe it's real. After 11 years, our Philadelphia Union have lifted their first trophy in club history. No, it's not the Suncoast Invitational Trophy that nobody cares about. It's an actual trophy. Who cares if people want to say there's an asterisk? It's our first official trophy, and just it feels so surreal. And then reading the backstory about the trophy, which I'll get into later if you guys aren't caught up with what I'm talking about. But wow, and honestly, I feel really confident in saying this. If this was a regular season, then I truly believe the Union would have set all sorts of MLS regular season records, because I'm not going to get too much in stats. I'll just give a little bit right now and everything. I'll review the season in review once the season comes to a halt completely. Hopefully the Union win MLS Cup. But in 23 games for this season, the Union had 14 wins, 5 draws, and 4 losses. And if you look at last year's first 23 Philadelphia Union games, they went 11 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses. So those first 23 games last season, that's 39 points right there for the Union compared to the 47 that the Union got this year in 23 games, which is just an unbelievable feat. But then what's even more impressive, in my opinion, is in the first 23 games last year, the Union, they gave up 32 goals, while if you look at this year's team, they've only given up 20 goals all season, which is the fewest in MLS. I know Columbus and the Union have been going back and forth, but the Union kept a clean sheet, like we all know, against New England. Great job, Matty Ice. But yeah, it's just been really, really impressive to see this team, how far they've come defensively. And I think a big key to that is because of Jose Martinez, which we'll obviously get to him later on in the episode. But what also caught my attention is that the Union were only 2 wins away this season from tying the most wins in a regular season, which was set last year with 16. And there was still, if this was a regular season, there would be so much more games left to be played. To only lose 4 games this season compared to the 11 they lost last year, to be undefeated at Subaru Park this year, I mean, this team was definitely on pace to set a whole bunch of records. And I'm feeling really confident with this team going into the playoffs, because as we all know, since the Union won the Supporters Shield, which is given to the best team in MLS with the best record, that means the Union qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League starting in 2021. And the Union, they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So if they make it to the finals, that Western Conference team has to come down to Chester. So really, really looking forward to the playoffs to start, which the Union's first playoff game, I'll get to that in a second, because that's going to be included into the news. So let's just go ahead and go straight into the news. So since I literally just mentioned it, I guess I'll continue with it. The Union's first playoff game will be November 24th at 8 p.m. at Subaru Park. The Union will play either Montreal Impact, Miami, or New England for the 6th time this season. Now, there are listener questions again for this episode, which I'm always thankful for, you guys leaving listener questions. And one of the questions basically asked me, what team should the Union look out for? And so I won't talk too much who I'd rather the Union play out of Montreal, Miami, and New England. I'll save that for the listener questions near the end of the episode, as always. But all 3 of these teams are people that the Union have faced this season multiple times, with obviously New England being the most. So at least we know whichever one of these teams that has to be at Subaru Park, as we all know, like I said, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And just feeling really confident, and I'll tell you guys at the end who I'd rather play out of those 3 teams. Point number 2, Olivier Mbaizo and Jamiro Monteiro have gone on international duty with Cameroon and Cape Verde, respectively, meaning they will miss the first playoff game due to MLS's quarantine period of 8 days. Cameroon's last game is November 16th, while Cape Verde's is November 18th. Now, I'm not sure if MLS will, because MLS, they did change the quarantine period from 9 days to 8 days, and I can't see them changing that anymore, especially with players flying all over the world to go play with their international team. So, yeah, it sucks losing Jamiro Monteiro for the first game, but I'm still confident whoever the Union play, just put in Anthony Fontana. We know how big Anthony Fontana has been for us this season. Yeah, he's not on Jamiro Monteiro levels, but when we need a goal, Anthony Fontana has been that guy. I know as of late it's been Corey Burke, but it's always great to have multiple guys come off the bench. And if you're chasing a goal, if you need to secure your lead even more, it's always good to have those guys come off the bench. So Ray Gaddis has been playing fantastic as of late too, which just not having Mbaizo, having that comfort there in case Ray got hurt or in case you needed to, again, chase a goal, bring on speed, then you could bring on Mbaizo. And Mbaizo's really impressed me this season. I know he's played on the left, he's played on the right. Sometimes he looks indecisive, but as a guy we've barely seen play in the past, and in my opinion, he's taken the most of every opportunity that he's been given this season. And yeah, I mean, it does suck that he's not there, like I just said, because if Ray gets hurt, who are you going to play as a right back? Hopefully Matt Real should be healthy when we start the playoffs. So I guess emergency right back, Matt Real, even though when we saw him this year come in as a right back, did not look comfortable on the right side of the field. As we all know, he's a natural left-footed player. I guess Ali Bedoya could be another one that you could slide in for emergency situations, but then at the same time, who are you going to slide into the midfield, because you're already missing Monteiro, like I said. So everybody automatically assumes that Fontana is just that fill-in for Bedoya, but it's actually been Aronson filling in for Bedoya when Bedoya is not there and playing Anthony Fontana as the number 10. Even though, I mean, you constantly see these guys, Aronson, Fontana, these guys will flip-flop during games. Anthony will go up top, play the number 10. Aronson will go there. So I don't think it really matters when you look at the diamond, whether it's Anthony Fontana, whether it's Jamiro, whether it's Aronson. All three of those guys are eventually in the number 10 position during some time in the game. So yeah, I guess it's just on paper, but yeah, it's I mean, you're happy for these guys to get called up for the national team. It just sucks that it's during the most important time of our season, during playoffs. So it's just one game. You just hope these guys, one, don't get COVID. Two, you hope that they don't get injured while they're away on international duty. Because we saw during the first international break, all these players in Europe coming back to their club teams with COVID. So you hope that doesn't happen with Jamiro or Mbaizo, but just fingers crossed that they just miss one game with the Union and they'll be back for the rest of the playoffs. So the last bit of news that I want to bring up is Jakob Glesnes and Jose Martinez. They both won Team of the Week honors for Week 23, and Jim Curtin once again won Coach of the Week. I've lost track how many times Jim Curtin's won that award this season. Should win Coach of the Year with, like I said, gave you guys crazy stats at the beginning of the episode, just what the Union have been able to do in 23 games. I really do believe that they were on pace to break so many records in MLS this season, and it's a big credit to Jim Curtin, just the Union sticking with him for 5 years and finally seeing the plan come to fruition, seeing the academy kids come into the first team. And I mean, I don't have to tell you guys are all witnessing the same things that I'm seeing, but for all the people out there that didn't believe in Jim Curtin, well, now he's finally delivered the first trophy in club history. And all those people over the years that were saying Jim Curtin out, they wanted him gone. Yeah, all those people are quiet now, I'm going to assume. But congratulations to Jose Martinez and Jakob Glesnes for getting Team of the Week honors for Week 23. So let's just go ahead and talk about the biggest game we all knew in Philadelphia Union history. Yes, bigger than the New York Red Bull game because there was a chance at winning silverware. They actually could have won in multiple ways. They could have, obviously, if they won this game against New England, they would have won the trophy. If Toronto would have lost to the Pink Cows, then the Union still would have won. And we all know it doesn't matter, even though Toronto did lose to the Pink Cows, the Union, they took care of business. And I think that's a great statement from people that they didn't have to rely on anybody else, because I feel like that there still would have been negative people out there and said, well, the Union controlled their destiny, and look, they choked. And they got lucky winning the Supporters' Shield because the Red Bulls beat Toronto. And so that's the only reason why the Union are getting the Supporters' Shield. And yeah, now you don't even have to hear that, because the Union put all those people that would have said that, they silenced them with winning 2-0 against New England Revolution. And that's what you want to see. And that's how you know you're a good team, when, there's multiple ways for you to win silverware, to advance in the playoffs, whatever it is. And all you have to do is win, and you take care of your business. And that's exactly what the Union did. And they've been a fantastic team all season long at Subaru Park, 9-0 so far. Hopefully we can go ahead and make that 4 more wins at Subaru Park this season, which would put us at 13-0. And the Union, they are the first team in MLS history to go undefeated at home. And yeah, I know there should have been more home games. We all know it's a crazy season, but nonetheless, I mean, to win every single home game doesn't matter. I mean, that's a really, really good feat. And I should have looked, what's the biggest winning streak in MLS for teams winning games at home? I mean, nine straight home wins in the regular season. I feel like that's got to be up there with the best, if not the best, record in MLS ever for consecutive home games. Not consecutive, but just home games in general. So I'm sure you guys can go ahead and look this up while you're listening to this, seeing who's won the most home games in a row in MLS regular season history. Maybe it is the Union with 9. Again, I didn't think to look that up. I was just talking. I'm like, I don't know, that's pretty impressive. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the most consecutive home games won in the regular season for any MLS team. But if it's not, it's definitely close up there. Matt Freese, I mean, this is a question everybody wanted to know going into this game. Do you start Joe Bendick, who has MLS experience? Do you start Matt Freese, who has yet to play with the first team this season, who's given up goals with the Union too when Matt Freese was playing with them? And my whole thing was, well, you look at the defense, you look at the team in general that Matt Freese had in front of him. They were all super duper young. 17, 18-year-olds in front of him. Matt Freese, one of the oldest people on the team. If not the oldest, he's 22 years old. So, and I know there's a whole bunch of people. I forget what team it was. Was it Hartford, Connecticut? The last U2 game when the Union lost that game because Matt Freese threw the ball right into the defender and it went in the back of the net. And I know people were saying, yeah, I'm not confident in Matt Freese. I mean, that's just bad decision-making. And to play at the next level, you can't have that kind of decision-making. Well, yeah, Matt Freese made every single save that he needed to make. Now, granted, he wasn't really troubled at all by New England, in my opinion. But when he needed to make a save, he seemed confident. When he needed to come for a ball, he seemed confident. His distribution out of the back, I seemed fine. It seemed like it was fine. I mean, no complaints at all from Matt Freese. And, I was thinking too, honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if Jim Curtin's thinking was, okay, let me showcase Matt Freese to get him a chance to make the Olympic soccer roster. I know the Olympics aren't happening until the summertime, but you got to think, even when the regular season starts off for 2021 next season, Matt Freese isn't going to get many looks unless Andre Blake gets injured. God forbid he does sometime next season. Then that's the only way that I see Matt Freese playing for the Union, other than Open Cup games. Hopefully the Open Cup's back for next season. But yeah, if not, I mean, it's just going to be a whole bunch of times seeing Matt Freese play for the second team. We know now that the Union aren't playing in the USL next year. So now because of that, now that's really going to slim his chances to showcase himself for the Olympic soccer roster. And it just makes sense, in my opinion, that Jim Curtin would be like, hey, look, he's playing with the first team. He has an actual defense in front of him. He has a good midfield in front of him. Let's see what he can do. And like I said, he wasn't tested that much, but he made every save that he needed to make. His distribution was good enough, for my opinion. It didn't hurt us. And yeah, there's still plenty of soccer to be played until the United States need to make a decision who's making the 23 roster for the Olympic team. But, this is going to be a game that I feel like the national team coaches are going to look back on and say, hey, look, what Matt Freese did with U2, it doesn't matter, because look how young those players were in front of him. Look what he did when he had an actual defense in front of him, and he did his job. And so, in my opinion, I think that was probably part of Jim Curtin's thinking to start Matt Freese over Joe Bendik. And yeah, it probably helps too that Joe Bendik gave up some easy goals against Columbus. But at the end of the day, Jim Curtin got it right, and can't question it. And I know there's been a lot of people on social media throughout the season, myself included, saying, oh, why didn't Jim use more substitutions? Oh, Jim got this sub wrong. Jim got this wrong. Well, this was, in my opinion, Jim's biggest decision of the season was to either start Matt Freese or start Joe Bendik, who didn't look good against Columbus. And maybe if Joe Bendik was in there, maybe same thing would have happened. Maybe New England wouldn't have tested him that much like they didn't test Matt Freese. But we'll never know, because Matt Freese got the start, looked comfortable in goal, and it's another check right there on Jim Curtin's name for getting yet another thing right for this unbelievable season. I thought Jamiro Monteiro, in my opinion, I thought it was huge this game. And not only this game, I mean, the last few weeks, this guy's been unbelievable. I mean, 4 out of 6 completed tackles against New England, 5 successful dribbles. This guy's been playing with so much confidence the last couple of weeks. And I talked about it whenever it was on the podcast, when people were complaining about the league figuring out Jamiro Monteiro. He doesn't look like a DP signing. Doesn't seem like he's the same player he was last year. And I wasn't afraid to say, with all these people complaining about him on social media, I wasn't afraid to say, hey, look, he's fine. He's been our maestro in the midfield all season long. All of our play goes through Jamiro. And I think when people were saying, yeah, Jamiro doesn't look as good, I think a lot of people were wanting to see more goals, more assists. They probably wanted to see him just take players on 1v1 more than what he was doing. But in my opinion, Jamiro Monteiro, all that extra stuff, dribbling at players, the shots, all that's secondary in my opinion. His job is to start the counterattack. His job is to tackle. Like I said, to be the maestro. Everything. If you go and look at whatever site you get your stats from, you look when you break down statistics by possession, Jamiro Monteiro is either number 1 or number 2. And the only person that's ever number 1 ahead of Jamiro in possession for the team is Kai Wagner, which those two are always close. But it's always Jamiro Monteiro. It's always, okay, defense gets the ball. Let's play the ball to Martinez. Martinez plays the ball to Monteiro. Or let's pass the ball straight to Jamiro Monteiro. Jamiro dribbles the ball a little bit backwards, finds another teammate. It's always, we need to find Jamiro Monteiro when we're attacking. And yeah, I mean, hopefully all of those people that were calling out Jamiro Monteiro needs to step up this game, to not being a DP signing. Yeah, hopefully people see that he's a lot more than scoring goals, getting assists, because the last few weeks, yeah, he's been scoring goals, getting some assists, but I've always thought Jamiro was a guy who is going to go ahead and start the attack, get on the ball constantly. Maybe he's not going to get the assist, but he'll get the assist to the assist to the assist, which never shows up on the stat sheet. His pressing has been top notch, and yeah, at times his dribblings let us down, but when you have all 3 of the midfielders, Martinez, Aronson, and Bedoya pressing as well as they have the last couple of weeks, then that's only making Jamiro Monteiro play even better, in my opinion. Because when that diamond works and they're pressing, winning that ball back, teams don't like to play against the diamond. Teams wet the bed, they get frustrated, they start fouling players, and then the Union find themselves in dangerous positions. And I know we've not been a good corner team, we've not been a great set piece team, but you never know what's going to happen in those situations. You never know if the ball is going to take a deflection, a ricochet. You never know what the wind's going to do to the ball. And so just to get into those positions because of the press, it speaks volumes just how well this midfield's playing, in my opinion. And because just all four of those guys have been pressing really well in the midfield, I believe that's why Jamiro is playing so well as of late. You know, you're seeing the press work so well where center backs are getting yellow cards in the first half. You're seeing midfielders for the other team getting yellow cards in the first half because they're getting so frustrated. They're losing the ball, and now they're fouling Jamiro Monteiro. And because the Union are getting teams to get yellow cards early on in the game, now that means Jamiro Monteiro can go and dribble 1v1 at somebody because he knows, hey, if you foul me again, chances are you're going to get another yellow card and you're going to be sent off. And so with the Union pressing so well as of late, I believe that's played really, really big dividends in why we're seeing Jamiro Monteiro dribble and show signs, and even higher signs, in my opinion, of what the player he was last season. And just going back to talking about Jose Martinez, just what a player he's been. And you notice every single time that he starts, you notice a difference. I mean, I'm sure you guys are probably tired of me always saying, yeah, he's the engine of the midfield, but it is true. I mean, you look at all the times, like I was just talking about, Bedoya, Aronson, Martinez, and Monteiro just all pressing well. When these guys are pressing, people are getting so frustrated. I mean, the one thing I love about going to games live and everything is you can look all over the field where if you're watching the games from home and everything, the camera's only following the ball. And so I'm not sure if the camera's picked up on this, but when Martinez got his assist to Corey Burke on that goal, he pressed, and I think it was Carlos Gil complaining about a foul or whatever. And that's fine. Go ahead. You lose the ball, complain straight to the ref. Now you guys are playing with a man down for those split seconds, and those few seconds that you're complaining to the ref, now your team's really caught out of position. And so with Martinez just pressing so well, like getting in the opposition's mind and everything, I mean, it's been wonderful to see him just contribute in the attack, contribute in the defense. And when one of the outside backs are caught out of position, this guy is just hauling his butt to get caught right back into position to make sure, hey, look, that I know the outside backs are caught out of position, but if I can get to that spot where you're supposed to be in time, we'll be just fine. And more times than not, when Kai Wagner, Ray Gaddis, and Mbaizo, whoever is caught out of position, he's right there to stuff out the danger, because him and Mark McKenzie have been playing really, really good this season when one of his outside backs get caught out of position where you don't feel troubled, where I hate getting on Harris, but you know when we turn the ball over, Harris wasn't really tracking back defensively. He's always pointing. And it feels so good to finally have a midfielder that's not only going to do the work offensively, but he does the work defensively. And it's been exactly what Martinez has done all season long for the Union. And, I mean, you got to look at just the Union as a whole offensively. In the last two games, they've had 40 shots. Now, granted, they've only scored 3 goals out of those 40 shots, but got to create those shots. And why are they creating those shots? Because of the success that the midfield's having with the press. Teams are getting frustrated with the press. The press has been working so well the last couple weeks. Sergio Santos, Kasper Schrebelka, they're getting themselves in good positions. Even though Kasper is not scoring, he's getting himself in a good position to have shots on target, to at least have a shot. I think he led the Union with 4 or 5 shots last game against New England. And yeah, it sucks. It really does suck that Kasper's not scoring goals, but he's getting himself in those positions. And that's something I've talked about in the past on this podcast. You got to get the strikers more involved. And that's exactly what the Union have been doing with Sergio Santos, with Casper Schiebelko, with Corey Burke when he gets subbed on. They're getting those guys involved. And we're seeing Brendan Aronson take more shots than he has earlier on this season. This team's just playing with such confidence right now. And yeah, that's a lot of shots, 40 goals, and to only score three goals out of those 40 shots. Yeah, that's pretty telling. It's a pretty big difference, but you've got to get in those positions, and the Union are creating plenty of chances, and you'd love to see that with the playoffs starting up. So hopefully the Union can continue with that. And look, every time the Union have played New England this season, what have I said? You got to shut down Buska. Buska is the big target that New England love to use. Teal Brunberry has been a difference maker as of late for New England. And time again, the Union press New England, and they absolutely hate being pressed. They hate being tackled. They complain to the ref as soon as they lose the ball. And yeah, maybe that's because that's just Bruce Arena's personality and it's rubbing off to the players. But time and time again, every time that we play New England, we shut out Buska. And hopefully I'm not jinxing this if we play New England in the playoffs, but New England, they just can't score against this defense. And I always say this is going to be a good defensive battle because ever since Bruce Arena took over for New England have been a much better defensive team than they were under Brad Friedel, but they can't score. So you can be great defensively, but if you can't score against the Union, then yeah, all that good defense that you play and everything, it's not going to make a difference. And it seems like every time that the Union play New England, it seems like even though it's 2-0, 2-1, 1-0, it seems like the score should be a lot higher than it is because after seeing the Union 5 times, it seems like New England has no idea how to unlock this Philadelphia Union defense. And that's even getting Carlos Gil back, who missed most of the season for New England, who's arguably the best player. And then you have Gustavo Bo up top. They've got players, but they, for whatever reason, they just can't. They cannot break down the Union's defense. And that's just a credit, like I was talking about, to only give up 20 goals in 23 games. Yeah, that is really, really impressive by the Union. And it's not just New England. It's been a whole bunch of teams this season that have struggled to break down the Union's defense. And you hope that continues. There's no reason, in my opinion, why that wouldn't continue. And yeah, that game just really felt like a playoff atmosphere, in my opinion. And people were enjoying it. I mean, plenty of smoke bombs going off that game, and the celebrations, just seeing the players just come together as one. Just you can tell it meant as much to the players as it did the fans to win the first trophy in team history. And hopefully, whoever the Union play going forward in the playoffs, hopefully, that atmosphere that we felt on Sunday can be 10 times that. And even with just under 2,000 people, it sounded like at times that stadium was packed. And hopefully, for all you people that have tickets for the playoff games, hopefully you guys bring that same energy if you were at the game on Sunday, because the players are going to need it. And it does make a difference, in my opinion. And I know before games, the Union didn't have any fans, but Jim Curtin, the players have said in the press conferences, they have said on social media, the fans' presence the last 5 home games has made a difference. It has given them that extra step. It has made the opposition uncomfortable having fans just give it to them. And the Sons of Ben, the Keystone State Ultras, yeah, they're definitely good at giving it to players, especially goalkeepers. So yeah, you would just love to see the atmosphere continue, which in my opinion, I don't see why it wouldn't continue. It's just the work's just not done. The work's not finished. This is only the beginning. Hopefully the Union can go ahead and win the double. And I did have a blunder of the week to give to Davavia, but because this is a happy episode, I'm not going to give it. I'll give blunder of the week sometime. I mean, I don't see anything's going to top what Davavia did at New York City, but we want to keep it happy and everything. So whenever I give blunder of the week again, it's going to go to David Villa. So let's go ahead and get to listener questions. There's a few this episode. First off, I'll start with Jeff Mitchell. And he said, did Posidelphia finally prevail over Negadelphia? Yeah. I mean, like I said, all those people that were complaining about Jim Curtin out, the Union always choke. They choked in the U.S. Open Cup tournaments that they were in, the finals that they were in, they choked. And Jim Curtin can't get this team a trophy. Seeing all these positive people on social media now. I mean, look, the other night, Monday night, you saw 97.5 from 8 to 10 dedicate a show to the Philadelphia Union, a radio station that would always make Union fans angry on social media because they would only use the Phillies, 76ers, the Flyers, and the Eagles in the polls, never include the Philadelphia Union, even though they were playing the best out of all those teams. And they, for 2 hours, they dedicated a whole show to talking about the Philadelphia Union, to taking calls about the Philadelphia Union. And a big part of that is, yes, because they won the first trophy, but it's a start. It's a start someplace. And who knows how many people listen to that show on Monday night. But I can guarantee you with just, Jeff, you were one of the people that called in. All the people hearing so many Union fans call in just being so happy about this team. Just the joy you could hear in each caller's voice about the Union, just the passion that each caller called in with. Maybe some of those people that want to care about soccer in general, maybe this will now turn heads that, hey, look, there's a team that's playing in Chester, not Philadelphia. We get it. We've all heard it. But they're successful. They won a trophy. We have no other team in the city proper that's playing well. But these guys are just a few miles outside the city, won a trophy, starting to get a little bit national attention. And if the Union go ahead and make more history this season by winning the MLS Cup, the national attention is only going to get so much higher. And yeah, that Negadelphia attitude that Philly fans have had over the years, yeah, it's going to be dead. So yes, Posidelphia has definitely prevailed over Negadelphia. And you've been one of the people for the last 11 years, Jeff, that has constantly been positive. Through the darkest of times, you've always tried to look at things positively. And now people can finally say, yeah, Jeff Misjoel, after all these years, the one guy who stayed positive through it all, yeah, Posidelphia finally wins. So, yes, it is definitely prevailed over Negadelphia. Going on to the next question from Pat Andrews. He asked, do we start Corey Burke over Kasper Schmeichel? And I think I talked about this, last episode or the episode before that, where people were complaining about Kasper not scoring goals. And yeah, as a striker, you want him to score goals. When Corey Burke comes off the bench, he's scoring goals. So you automatically think, okay, this striker is in form. He's scoring goals. We need to start him, which is a good point. But my thing I would argue is if you start Corey Burke and you need a goal, you're chasing a goal, can Kasper give you that goal coming off the bench? We know Corey Burke can do that. But with Kasper not scoring when he's starting, is that really somebody you want to rely on coming off the bench when you need a goal? Probably not. And the flip side of it, the thing that I keep arguing is the partnership between Kasper and Sergio Santos is really, really good. Kasper Schmeichel, in my opinion, is the best striker on this team, the best player on this team with hold up. Hitting the ball into him, he's strong enough to hold off defenders, to slide the ball into somebody running off his side and across the ball into the box. And so, yeah, it sucks that Kasper is not scoring goals, but I think the partnership of Sergio and Kasper, and we know we can get goals from Corey Burke coming off the bench. I think that's enough reason for me, in my opinion, to continue to start Kasper. Now, some of you guys out there can make an argument why we should not start Kasper, but yeah, I think my argument, because Kasper and Sergio's link-up play so well together, and Corey Burke, we know, gives us goals off the bench where we don't know Kasper would give us that. I think that's a pretty big argument, in my opinion. And going on to the next question, finally sending in questions, Brad. This is from my good friend Brad, down in Tennessee, who is a Philadelphia Union fan, which is crazy to think about. I mean, myself being from Maryland, Philadelphia Union fan, I know there's Philadelphia Union fans down in Florida. I know there's fans down in North Carolina. You got fans out over in California. You've got fans over in Japan. I mean, you got Union fans all over the place. And so it's never too late to get on the bandwagon. Even though we just won our first trophy, we will take all the fans we can get. But Brad, he asked 2 questions here. He says, who advances in the first round of the playoffs in the East, and who should the Union watch for? So, like I said earlier, the teams that can advance are Montreal, New England, or Inter Miami. Those 3 teams are who the Union can play, with Nashville taking on Inter Miami on, the one game I did not have up. Nashville takes on Inter Miami Friday at 9 p.m., while Montreal take on New England Friday 11/20 at 6:30 p.m. So, who do I think's advancing out of those 4 teams? Man, this is something where I've hardly seen Nashville play other than 1 or 2 games this season. Nashville have looked good as of late, where you go ahead and look at Miami. In their last 5 games, they have 2 wins, 3 losses in their last 5 games played. They've scored 7 goals while they've given up 8. And before I was recording this podcast, Pizarro for Inter Miami, he'll miss the play-in game and he'll miss the quarterfinals if Miami makes it that far, because he's away with Mexico with international duty. And he's been a big player for Miami this season. But yes, they still have Higuain. They have Matuidi. And so out of Miami, Montreal, or New England, Miami, even with them not having Pizarro, they scare me the most out of New England and Montreal, because I think they might not be the best team, but I think they have players that can make the biggest difference out of those 3 teams, Montreal, Miami, and New England. So I'm going to go with probably a Nashville victory. And then you go ahead and you look Montreal and New England. In Montreal, the last 5 games, they have 2 wins, 3 losses in the last 5 games, 6 goals for, 8 against. Where you look at New England, they have 1 win, 1 draw, 3 losses, and 2 of those losses were against the Union in the last 5 games played. They have 6 goals for, which 4 of those goals were scored against DC United in their 4-3 victory, the only victory New England has scored in the last 5 games, while they've conceded 9 goals. So there's a team, which I was just talking about. I've talked about every time that I've previewed a New England game this season. Ever since Bruce Arena has come to New England, they've played good defense, but giving up 9 goals in 5 games, that's really, really concerning. But at the same time, I don't want to see the Union take on New England for a 6th time this season. Yes, the Union have not lost to New England as of yet, but you can't continue to have a team's number throughout the season, right? I mean, that other team's going to eventually get a win, right? Something fluky is going to go their way. So I would say New England would be the team that I want to see second, and then first, obviously, would be Montreal. All 3 of these teams we've seen the Union play multiple times this season, like I said earlier in the podcast. The Union haven't lost to any of these teams at all this season, so that's great. But, Montreal, their last game in the regular season, they picked up yet another red card. And they have a habit of picking up red cards, stupid red cards, I should add, in games. And because of that, in New England playing at home, I do think we're going to see the Union play New England for a 6th time this season. And hopefully everything I've said on this podcast, hopefully that doesn't jinx the Union to get a loss, get knocked out the first game in the playoffs. I mean, Jeff's question talking about has Posidelphia finally prevailed over Negladelphia? If the Union got bounced from their first game in the regular season, yeah, Posidelphia is going right out the window, even with the Union winning the first trophy. So, yeah, I think it's probably going to be New England. And I know somebody asked a question, hey, can you preview the playoffs, give your predictions for just the playoffs in general? So I'll probably do that for an episode leading up to the playoffs starting on the 20th. But yeah, to answer your question, Brad, I know I went on for this. I think it's going to be Nashville over Miami. And I think it's going to be New England over Montreal. Both home teams moving on into the playoffs. But who knows? Who knows what can happen? I mean, the team I just said I'd least like to face is Miami. I think they have the better players out of all these people, all these teams, because I think that those players can make a difference, can hurt the Union. But at the end of the day, none of these teams have come into Subaru Park this season. None of these teams have played the Union this season and won against them. So either one of those two teams I'm fine with playing, but Montreal is the team I want to see the Union play. And you asked who should the Union watch for? Yeah, I guess it would be Miami, like I said. And your second question, Brad, you asked is where? Also, what was the biggest key to the Union's success this past season? So, again, I'm not going to review the season as a whole until the season's officially over. But yeah, it's been Jose Martinez. How many times do I talk about just the job he does defensively, the job he does offensively? Andre Blake, you can put in there, just getting back to herself. Has an argument to be made, the MVP for MLS, which I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, those two guys. But if I had to pick, the biggest success for the Union has been because of Jose Martinez and what he's done defensively for the Union. And then three other things that really weren't questions. They were more of a statement. I guess Tyler Elliott, another one of my friends, he asked how not to have a dead battery after you propose at Subaru Park. I guess it's simple. Don't leave your keys in the ignition, right? But I get it at the same time too. You're nervous and everything, and had a lot on your mind. So I guess it's easy to forget your keys in the car. Good thing is your car wasn't stolen, so that's the key thing right there. So you did a good job not getting your car stolen. But yeah, how not to have a dead battery? Don't leave your keys in the ignition. Easier said than done. I know, Tyler. And then from Jim Curtin burner account, he was asking, not this episode, but yeah, at some point, I'd love a playoff preview, bracket prediction, how you see the Union's path to the cup, or maybe they bust out of the playoffs. And yeah, that's definitely something I'll do probably next week. Maybe not a whole dedicated episode on that. My plan is to get 2 or 3 Union fans who haven't been on the podcast to come on sometime this week and next week to just talk about how they became a fan of the Union season so far. Yeah, we'll talk about playoffs, just all things Union related. So look out for that announcement on Twitter. Like I said, trying to get 2 or 3 Union fans who haven't been on the podcast to talk about how they became a fan. So I'll post more stuff about that on Twitter. And yeah, definitely will talk about my predictions for the Union going forward in the playoffs. And I'll go ahead and predict a Western side winner and everything. And definitely won't be this episode as we're 45 minutes in. And then the last comment was at Stefan is hot. Did the real hubcap arrive, the Captain America shield, which is going to be tough to top. So all fans should know that, yes, the shield has landed in Chester. It's officially there. But if you guys aren't familiar with the story, so this is an outstanding story that nobody knew at the time, I don't think. So I can't say we all know. I guess we all know now, reading it on social media. But if you haven't, the Union, the Supporter Shield never got to the Union in time. It got delayed by the post office from coming from LA. So the Union had to get creative because they wanted the players to live something. So the Union got in their possession a real-life Captain America shield. And the Union's thinking was, let's get a 16-inch pizza tray covered with a vinyl sticker, when somebody in the front office said that they knew a guy with a Captain America shield. Well, it turned out that the web manager's fiance's sister's boyfriend is the proud owner of a Captain America real-life shield. And he also apparently lives in Medford, which is where Brendan Aronson, we all know, is from. He told the Union he's not a fan of any sports, but he said, yeah, it's a cool idea. The Union could use the shield, his shield, Captain America's shield, to present to the players for winning the Supporters' Shield. So the Union drove to Medford, New Jersey. They got the shield. They used a heat gun to put the vinyl Supporters' Shield over top. The magnet on the back was powerful enough to stick and hold to the back of a costume. Yeah, it was so strong that the heat guns, they got stuck during the process of applying the vinyl. And so, yeah, it's like so crazy that the Union went out of their way and got a real-life Captain America shield. And the Union players were able to lift a trophy still, even though it wasn't the real Supporters' Shield. The Union, I mean, you got to give them credit for just how creative they were. And yeah, so I guess that answers your question, your comment. Yeah, we all know by now that the actual Supporters' Shield is in Chester. But there are two other things I want to say that don't have anything to do about these games, just to get you guys caught up. I've talked about it in the past, but Season 2 of the Union Trivia is definitely coming back. It's going to come back right after the Union get knocked out, they're not getting knocked out, after they win MLS Cup, which is December 12th. So I'll have more information later on about how you can sign up, how you can get involved with Season 2 of the Union Trivia. It's going to be a real blast. If you guys haven't checked out first season, guys, go back and listen to those older episodes. Had a blast hosting that and having a whole bunch of Union fans compete against one another, testing each other on what knowledge they knew right on the spot about the Union, what knowledge they didn't know. So Season 2 is definitely 100% coming back. And like I said, just more information on that later on. And then finally, I got to come up with a date for this, but I'm definitely doing this again. But this time it's not going to be a jersey. It's going to be a T-shirt and maybe a couple other Union things. I'm going to give away a Union T-shirt and some other things, including podcast stickers. I'll have more information for that when I want to start this. But the thing is, I want to say is, for people that already left reviews on iTunes, you're already qualified for this other giveaway. So you've already got your 2 entries. The only thing I would say is, if you're interested in winning the T-shirt and then some other Union gear, just like the post whenever I make it on Twitter, and you already have those 2 entries in. But if you guys never entered that giveaway, it's really, really simple. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, search The Free Kick Todd Lewis, show a screenshot of that review. They get you 2 entries. Tag a friend on that post that I make. They get you 1 entry. Gotta retweet that post. They get you another entry. And then the rules are really, really simple. Only a max of 4 entries per person. The winner has 24 hours to claim his or her prize after the drawing. If the 24 hours pass without the winner claiming their prize, then I will redraw a new winner. And to be eligible, you have to follow the Twitter account at FreeKickPod. So, like I said, look out for more information for the T-shirt giveaway, for more information about Season 2 of the Union Trivia Contest, and look out for information about me trying to get 2 or 3 Union fans on this week and next week on the podcast just to talk about, hey, the Union's great season so far this season. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, go ahead, follow at FreeKickPod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Go ahead and check out the podcast, thefreekick.com on the website, wherever you get your free kick. Wherever you get your podcast, search The Free Kick Todd Lewis. And yeah, we should still be celebrating. The Philadelphia Union are the 2020 Supporters' Shield winners. Can you guys believe it? I can't. I'm still in awe, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are still celebrating. Let's continue it, but the work's not done yet. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.